It's time to officially start our November Cuties table topper. Hi everyone, Cristin here, and just like we've been doing all year long, we're going to dedicate this last week of the month to our cuties. So this time we're working on the November Cuties, and we are working with our sponsor, My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop. Here is a link so that you can purchase your supplies from our sponsor. They have the fabric kit, thread kit, everything that you need to get started on this. So for the November Cuties, it is the gather block, the gather wall hanging, I should say. It's really pretty. It's got that squares design that we did in July, and so part of it we're just going to copy what we did before. So let's go ahead and talk about what we need for today. So grab your packet if you made packets. And we're going to start with the centers block. You can see I've been reusing my little labels. So the centers block for this one, it looks like it's page 24, if I can read that correctly. So the centers block is what we're going to work on with all these fall fabrics. Aren't those so pretty? All right, so let's talk about what we need. Let me just turn to page 24. So one thing is that we're going to use center leaf as our quilting design, and I'll talk about that in a little bit also, but I'm going to just copy and paste the part of the software learning part from July, and the only thing that you'll have to do differently is change out that quilting design, because I think we used ants in July if I recall. So we'll use center leaf design for this one. All right, so page 24 has our center blocks, and it is those squares. So the squares, we have our main fabric is always our first thing. So let me grab that real quick here. So our main fabric is the cream colored with the lines all over it. All right, the cream fabric with lines all over it. And you do want to back this with fusible stabilizer. You can see that I cut mine in 1/4 inch all the way around just to show that it's the backing, and because why not, right? So the main fabric, our main fabric is going to be 7.5 by 7.5, and you want 4 pieces of that cream fabric, all backed with fusible stabilizer so that you can have no puckering and have it all laying nice and flat. So 7.5 by 7.5, 4 pieces for this main fabric. All right, and then we have our squares designs, and I'm not sure if I have those in order, so hold on one second. All right, so our first one is the squares 1 fabric. The square 1 fabric, it is a burgundy maroon colored silky solid, no design on it, and I did back mine with fusible stabilizer. That's completely optional, up to you. I think it does say iron fusible backing to the wrong side of all fabrics, so it is recommended, and that's what I've always done. I find that it lays much straighter and it cuts nicer, and that's my personal preference. So square 1, like I said, this burgundy fabric, silky solid, and we're going to have 4 pieces at 4 by 6. 4 pieces that are 4 by 6. All right, that's for square 1. All right. Yep, 4. And then the square 2 fabric is the light tan silky solid. All right, light tan color, light brown silky solid. Also 4 pieces at 4 by 6. 4 pieces at 4 by 6. And again, I did back mine with fusible stabilizer, totally optional, but it does recommend it in the book as well. 4 pieces at 4 by 6. This one is for square 2, the silky solid light brown. And then square 3 is larger. These are going to be 6 by 6. It is a dark orange color, silky solid, no design on it. And we want 4 pieces that are 6 by 6. This is for square 3. And again, I did back mine with fusible stabilizer. You want 4 pieces that are 6 by 6. All right, that's for square 3. And those are the only fabrics that we need for this project. So this one, really important fact, I've mentioned this on all of the whole year actually of all of these table toppers. On the center squares, we want the quilting design on the top. All right, so I will show you in software how to do that. You can do that on your embroidery machine too, but I'm going to show you in software. It's easier. You can see it on my big monitor and how to do it very easily, since so many of you are using Brilliance Essentials now. Super easy to do. All right, so that's one important tip. Make sure that your quilting design goes on the top. So when I say the quilting design is the fifth part of the quilting design, because the whole quilting design has 5 parts. 1 is the placement of the batting, 2 is tack down of the batting, 3 is placement of the main fabric, and 4 is the tack down of the main fabric. Those 4 steps we want to be at the very beginning, but then that last one is the actual quilting design, and that's the part that we want on the top. So we only want to move that one part, and like I said, I'll show you super easy in Embroidery Essentials how to do that. But you can bypass and maybe possibly move it around on your machine. I'm not absolutely sure, but you could definitely bypass and then come back to it. All right, if you're not using embroidery software. So on this one, we're going to quilt it. So we want our batting. So we're going to have 4 pieces of batting that are 6 by 6. 4 pieces of batting, 6 by 6. All right. And we are going to quilt this one with, let's see, July was center ant. So November, we're going to do center leaf. All right. The center leaf design. And like I said, I'm just going to copy and paste from the previous tutorial, and I'll point in there where you need to change it out from the center ant to the center leaf design. Right when from the start, you're going to bring in the quilting design, and we'll bring in center leaf, and then we're going to do all the changes to it and do the merge and all of that. The color sort, everything. So I'm going to fit 2 in 1 hooping. If I recall, I think it can fit in an 8 by 12 hoop. So if you don't have an 8 by 12 hoop or that large of a hoop, then you can do these separately. That's fine too. So anyway, center leaf is our quilting design for today, and it should be a pretty easy day. So let's go ahead and get started on the center squares design, and I'll show you on the computer how to merge them together if you choose. Hi everyone, so I'm at my computer now, and like I said, I'm going to show you how to merge 2 designs in 1 hooping if you choose. You don't have to, but even if you're not going to, if you're going to do them individually, you still want to see how to move the quilting design to the end and where to move the quilting design so that it is aligned correctly with the center squares. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm opening up Embroidery Essentials. That is the embroidery software that I use. I'm going to go to File, New Page. All right, and down here at the bottom, so this is Embroidery Essentials. If you're new to Embroidery, I'm going to go over some of the basics. I think it opens for you as a white or a yellow screen in the background. I don't recall exactly what mine was, but if you go to this Preferences folder in the display settings, I think it was, that you can change right here. So background color. So I changed mine to a light pink. That's why mine looks pink. All right, so down here at the bottom right here where I'm circling my mouse, you can see that it shows that I'm on an 8 by 8 hoop. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change that. I'm going to go up to this Preferences folder, and I'm going to look through my hoop sizes, and you can add hoops too. I added my 10 by 10 and my 6 by 6 hoop, but most of the hoops are listed here, so just look through and find the one that you're looking for. I'm looking for my 8 by 12 right there. It started as metrics, and you can edit it. I changed mine to have the numbers in the front not be metric. The inches size for me, it worked easier. So whatever you want. I'm going to go ahead and click on that 8 by 12, and then you can see that we're zoomed in where we're not going to see all of the hoop, and I want to use all of my hoops. So I'm going to go up to this compass button, and I'm going to click H for hoop. And you can see that it zooms in so that I can see the entire hoop all at once. All right, and you can also use your mouse button. The scroll on your mouse button will zoom in or out as well. Either one of those will work fine. All right, so on this project, on this one specific, we are going to bring the embroidery design in first, which is actually the piecing project. So I'm going to go here to Merge Stitch File and click on that, and then I am going to close up my quilting, and I'm going to find where I have my embroidery file. So all it's doing is it's asking you where do you have this file that you want me to open up. So I've got mine on my desktop, and I have it in my folder that's called Cuties Tabletopper. So there's the embroidery files right there. If I click that plus sign, I can see all the different formats, which actually I deleted all of them except Pez, because that's what I use for my machine. So I'm going to click on the Pez, and then I'm going to scroll down, and I'm looking for that center square right there. center square. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on that. It will go to the center. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it. I have to click on it to know what's going to move. So if I click on that, the other way of doing it is to click on here. Either one will work fine. So then you can use your arrow keys to move it up, or you can use your mouse. Either one will work. So since I want to have 2 in one hooping, I'm moving it up, but I want to warn you, if you move it all the way to the top, you're not going to have room for your quilting design. And we will align it, so we're not going to worry about that. But if you're not using software and you're using your machine, I want to point out that you have to line it up with your quilting design. And if you bring the embroidery design all the way to the top, then your quilting won't have room. All right, so I'm just going to move it here. It's not going to matter for us because I'm going to align it, so it doesn't matter where I put it really, but I'm going to put it near the top for now. All right, so then I have all of these squares. So what I want to do, since this is a piecing project and I want to do 2 in one hooping, I'm going to change these colors because you can see that there are a lot. I'm just clicking outside so that they're not all selected. So the default 1 blue and default 2 orange, there's several of these. And if I were to do a color sort later, it will join those, and that would defeat the whole purpose of them. These all have a specific purpose. So if I change the colors of them, then we can decide what will join and what will not join. So I'm going to go ahead and go through and I'm going to just change all these colors before I do a copy and paste to be able to get a second square. All right, because like I said, I'm going to do 2 in one hooping. You can do 1 in one hooping and you won't have to worry about this, but it will save on time, save on stabilizer, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to quickly run through these and I'm just going to change the colors very simply. So this 1-1, I clicked on the color and I'm going to click on the color down here in this color properties. If your properties tab is ever missing, you would go up here, I think it's to view, yep, toolbars and windows, and make sure that all of these are selected. If your toolbar here, properties tab, is ever missing, that's how you get it back. All right, so back to this. So 1-1, I'm clicking on 1-1, and then I'm going to click on the color, and I'm on palettes right now because I was doing a different project and I worked on palettes. You need to make sure that you're on threads, because if you do palettes, it's just showing you the colors that's already in your project, and that would be a mistake since we obviously want different colors so that they don't join. So I'm going to click on this threads view. Now your colors may come up differently. Mine are on Filtech Glide because that's what I have as my preferred thread color. So you can change your preferred by going here. There's this preferred tab. You can change that. And then your colors will come up the same if you're using Glide or whatever you choose. But it doesn't matter what color you choose. You just want to choose a color that's different than what's already here so that we can choose what joins and what doesn't. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on the first one that comes up. That's the easiest. So I'm going to click on this dark aqua and say OK. All right, so that was for 1-1. Now we're on 1-2. I'm going to click on 1-2, and then I'm going to go down here to this properties tab and click on the color. So the first one that comes up for me is Blaze. I'm going to go ahead and click that and say OK. And then the next one is Wildflower. You can see Wildflower is on here 3 times, and so those would join if we don't change the color. So I'm going to go ahead and click on 1-3, click on the color, and the first color that comes up for me is Monarch. And like I said, it doesn't matter what color as long as we change the color. So the first one that comes up is just the easiest. And I forgot to bring my microphone over. Sorry, hopefully you could hear that. Hopefully now you'll hear it even better. Sorry about that. All right, so 1-3, I'm choosing Monarch and saying OK. All right, and then 1-4, I'm going to click on the 1-4 and click on the color. And we already used dark aqua. You can see them right up here. So I'm going to use the second color down, which is Marine, and say OK. All right, 1-5 is our next one. Click on the color down here. We already used Blaze, it's right up here. So we're going to use the second color down, which for me is Oriole. And then 1-6, click on the color, and we already used Monarch right up there. So I'm going to use the next color down, which is Cranberry, and say OK. All right, 1-7, click on the color, and we already used the first 2, so I'm going to go down to the third color, which is Hawaiian Blue, and say OK. And 1-8, click on the color. We already used the first 2, so I'm going to use number 3, which is Coral for me. And then 1-9, And this is the one that's going to tack it all down. This one, I'm going to click on the color, and we already used Monarch and Cranberry, so I'm going to go to Filtech. The third one down for me is Filtech. All right, and then this gray, there isn't another one, so you can leave it if you choose. I'm going to go ahead and just change it since I'm here. I'm on 110. I'm going to click on the color, and the first color that comes up for me is medium gray. Say okay. So those are done. You click outside of the workspace. So you can see that we've got all of these. We've chosen the color so that what we want to join will join and what we don't want to join will not. So this is perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, and I'm going to click on here. You can do it over here, or you can click down here and scroll up. Either way, whatever works, you just want to make sure that you have all 10 parts of that first design. All right, so this way makes it easy for me. So I'm going to say Control C, like copy, on my keyboard, Control C, and then Control V. And I know that that's hard to hear sometimes on these videos, so I'm going to say it's V like victory. All right, V like victory. And that creates a second design. So you can see here that now there's two designs. It looks over here like there's only one because it's on top of that first one. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to use my arrow key, and I'm going to move it down. And I'm going to move it down toward the bottom, but I'm not going to be real insistent on exactly where it's going to go, because like I said, we need to bring in that quilting design and we need room for that. And so we're going to move them around later anyway. It's not going to matter. All right, so that's our first and our second of our embroidery design. So the only thing is we want the quilting design too. So I'm going to show you how to do this. You could bring in the quilting design before the embroidery design and move those around, and that works fine too, but I'm just going to do it this way since we brought in our embroidery design first. So we have the 1 and the 2 designs of our embroidery. Now we're going to go ahead and bring in that quilting. So I'm going to go to Merge Stitch File, and I'm going to close up my, let's see, the embroidery designs, and I'm looking for the quilting designs. So right here, Cuties Volume 2, July through December. Open that up, embroidery files. Pez is what I use for my machine. And we're looking for center and. So it's going to say center July. There it is, center and triangles July. So click on that. And then we are looking for the center design. Now, if you only have a 5x7 hoop as your largest hoop, you would want to use this design. And you can see it just takes off part of the sides. If you have a larger hoop, like I'm using my 8x12 hoop, then I'm going to scroll down a little bit to find the 6x10 version, because our quilting design, we want a 6x6 quilting design. They made this one smaller so that it will work for those using a 5x7 hoop. But if you can, the 6x10 makes it a little bit easier for trimming. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. I'm going to double click on it. It goes to the center. Now, again, we want to change this one as well. I'll show you why. So if I open up the third design, which is that quilting design, there's those default blues and oranges again. And those will join and defeat the purpose. It would make it so that in one step, you are putting down your batting and your main fabric, and then you're going to have batting in your seams and the whole bit. There's a purpose to each of these. So we want those stops. So to stop them, we need to put in our the changes of the colors, and we have to remember what we already used so that we're not using them again so that they join with here. So I'm going to go ahead, and I hope that makes sense. So 3-1, I'm going to click on 3-1. I'm going to click on the color. Just follow along with me and you'll see. We know that we used the first 3. We used dark aqua, marine, and Hawaiian blue, or whatever you chose, and you can always see them up here. You can't while this box is open. I can say cancel and open this. So if you're not remembering the colors you used, you can click that plus sign to be able to see all of the designs that you already used. All right, so back to that color. So I used the first 3. I'm going to use Mercury, the 4th one down, and say okay. And then for 3-2, click on 3-2, click on the color. We used the first 3, so I'm going to use Lava, which is the 4th one down. And then 3-3, click on the color, and we've now used the first 4, so I'm going to use the 5th one, which for me is Tropical. And then 3-4, click on the color, and we want the 4th one down, I believe. No, we used Lava already. So we're going to use Strawberry Blonde. Did I already use Mercury? I got to make sure. Forgetting. No, okay. Mercury, Lava, Tropical, Strawberry Blonde. All right, so those are the colors that I'm using for my quilting. And then this default 17 turquoise, you could leave it again because there's only one of them. I'm going to go ahead and just change it because I'm here and it's easy. So I'm going to click on 3-5, click on the color, and the first color that comes up for me is Sprout. And say okay. If you wanted different colors on your the quilting of your center blocks, then you would have these different, but you're not going to want to because we're going to sew all those 4 blocks together. You want them to be pretty uniform. All right, so that's 3-5. So those are done. I'm going to close that up, and I'm going to close up the first design also, just so that I have room. Now, notice I'm still highlighted just on the quilting step, so it's important to click outside of the box so that nothing is selected, and then click on the item that you want to move. So I'm on number 3 here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move this up, and I'm going to move it all the way to the top, making sure not to go over those hoop lines. You can see this yellow line here. This is your hoop line, and you can't see it super well at the top, but you want to make sure not to go over it. If you go over it, it usually will show on your software, but it will definitely show when you bring it to your machine and it goes, I can't do this. It's outside of your stitch area. So make sure not to go over those hoops, okay? So that's one of them. We need 2 of these. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a copy and paste. And on this, I've got it selected right now. I'm on the 3rd design. I'm going to say Control C to copy it and Control V like victory to paste a second one. And again, it goes right over the top of that 3rd design. So I'm just going to use my arrow keys and I'm going to move it down. And we don't have to be exact because we are going to do a align and distribute, but just make sure to move them out of the way for you. All right, so we don't want to do a color sort. We don't want to do anything until we've got these aligned in the way that we want them. And then I'm going to show you an extra step. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close number 4 here. So I am going to go ahead. This is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to click on number 1, the first design, and I'm going to click on number 3. So to click on 2, you have to hit the control button on your keyboard and hold it down while you click number 3. And you can see that I have the first embroidery design and the first quilting design, and I'm going to go ahead and do an align and distribute so that those are centered exactly right. So I'm going to go up here to utility, because you can eyeball it, but it still may not be just right. So I'm going to just go ahead and use my align and distribute. And these placement lines should work. You should be able to line that up against here, but we've got this align and distribute button. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go to align and distribute. Remember, I have my first and my 3rd designs selected. And I'm going to do align and distribute, and I'm going to say center, center. I'm on this align tab, and say apply. And you saw that it moved. All right, hopefully you saw that it moved. So I'm going to say close. Now you can see that that gray square that we saw earlier, it wasn't a square, it was like a trimming guideline, that is now lined up. So you could use that. In fact, let me show you on this next one. So if I have 2 and 4, I'm going to hit that control button so that I have 2 and 4. You can see that this gray button, this gray trimming line, we want it lined up here. So really, let me click outside of the box. If I clicked on just number 2, I should be able to move this to have, I can use that as putting it up against that placement and tack down of our main fabric, that outer square. That's where we want it. So now we can do the align and distribute just to make sure it's exactly right. But for those of you that aren't using software and you're using your machine to move it around, use this outer trimming line and line it up against your placement and tack down of your main fabric that's in the quilting. This box here, you can see this outer box. All right, that's what this is lined up against, but I'm going to check it just to make sure I've got it just right. You could also even zoom in to see that you're on it by using your scroll button on your mouse. Either way, whatever works for you. So again, I'm going to hit 2 and 4, and I'm going to click align and distribute, utility, align and distribute, center, center, and we shouldn't see too much movement. So pay attention to here. Let's see how we did. Yeah, it didn't move at all. So using those gray lines to line up on the outer square, that's your placement and tack down of your main fabric, that will work as well. All right, so the other thing before we do anything else is you want to make sure to that nothing is over the hoop line. I'm going to just zoom out. Looks like this one is a little close. This one looks really good. This one is a little bit close. So I am going to hit 1 and 3, hitting the control button to have both of those, and I'm going to use my arrow key to come down 1 bit just to make sure that I am not over that hoop at all. Okay, now before we do a color sort, because we remember we don't want, if we did this right now, if we left this as is, we're going to run through all of the first embroidery design, then all of the second one, and then we're going to do all of those quilting. So we're basically going to put our batting on top of this. That's not what we want. All right, we want to move this around in a way that 3 and 4 are actually at the top, but the last step of 3 and 4 are at the bottom. How confusing is that? All right, so let me show you here. If I click on this and click right click, if I say move first, let's see if, yep, it moves up to the top. So that's a good idea. So right here, this number 4, right click on it and click move earlier, actually, because now we want it to be number 2. So I'm going to say move earlier, and I'm going to do it again, move earlier. So now I have both of my quilting designs first, 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4 are our embroidery designs. But don't forget, we want that number 5. So let me open this up so you can see. Click outside so that it's not selected. We want this as our very last step. This one, and on number 2, 5, right there, that one. We want those to be the last step. So I'm going to show you how to do that. It doesn't like to move it outside of the design. Like if you were to say that I click on this and click move last, it doesn't, it just still stays within, it's last already within that design. So it doesn't do it that way. I think, let's see if we tried to just actually manually move it. I think it still doesn't, no. All right, so I'm going to show you a different way. All right, I'm just closing up those folders. So what I'm going to do, this is going to be a little bit different, so pay attention. So File, New Page, all right, and then I'm going to click back to that other and untitled tab. Yours is probably untitled 1 and 2. I've been using a lot of Embrilliant, so I've got several that I've deleted. So mine says untitled 22 and 23. So for you, it's probably untitled 1 and then untitled 2. And untitled 2 is an empty one right now. Untitled 2 has 4 designs. So what I'm going to do is I am going to click all of these. So I clicked from the bottom and clicked and dragged up so that I have all 4 designs. You could also probably do it this way. Yep, whatever works, however you get all 4 designs. And I'm going to say Control C to copy, and then I'm going to click on this next tab, that empty tab, and I'm going to say Control V like victory to paste it. And that didn't do it. There we go. Control V to paste it. All right, so then we have the same, these are going to be the same. So we've got untitled 1 for you probably, untitled 2, and they are the same. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change it so that I am going to take out, I'll show you, this is, pay attention here. So number 1, I'm going to open up this first design and I'm going to click on 1-5 right here, and I'm going to click delete. Delete. And then 2-5 right there, delete. All right, so that those designs are not in there anymore. I have all of the placement and tack down of the batting and the main fabric, and then that's it. I don't have the quilting design. So I have those. That's how I want that for now. And then I'm going to go to this other, that second tab, click on that, and I'm going to click on 3, all of design 3, and click delete, all of design 3 and click delete. And then for this 1 and 2, I am going to click over on the side and get the first 4 parts. See, I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4 highlighted, and I'm going to click delete. And then same thing with this number 2, I'm going to open it up, and then I'm going to click on the first 4 parts, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, and 2, 4, and I'm going to click delete. So all I have are those quilting designs, but notice they're exactly lined up perfectly because we did that copy and paste. All right, so then I can take these, I'm going to highlight them. I clicked from the bottom and dragged up so that they're highlighted. I'm going to say Control C to copy. I'm going to go back to that first tab and I'm going to say Control V like victory. My V does not seem to be working. There it is. All right. And it brings them to the bottom and it brings them on top. It brings them exactly when I say the bottom, like the bottom of all of these designs, which means that it will be the last part. So it will be on the top. All right, so you saw how we did that. It keeps it lined up perfectly and it keeps it so that we can have just the quilting part. We want, when I open this up, I can show you, we want that placement of the batting, the tack down of the batting, the placement of the main fabric, the tack down of the main fabric, and then we jump right into the embroidery designs. And then after those are completely done, we can do our ant quilting on the top of the entire project. All right. So that is perfect, pretty fun, but we still have to do that color sort because right now, let's see if I click outside, then I can see all of them. We have 30 color steps right now, 30 color steps between all of these. And if we didn't do a color sort, which I'm pretty sure you can't do that on the machine. I could be wrong. I'm not super savvy on my machine yet because Embellishment Essentials is just so much easier to me. But if you do it on your machine, I don't think you can color sort so that you're doing them all together. I think only on software, but I could be wrong about that. But if you were to do it that way, then you're doing all of 1, all of 2. You're doing them different separately, whereas on here, I can join them so that I'm doing all of these parts together. So let's go ahead and try that so that I can show you what's going to happen. So like I said, right now we have 30 color steps. We should be able to get that down to half, I'm thinking. Let's just see. So if I go here to Utility, Color Sort, and don't forget, I want to point out before we do this, you have to do that Align and Distribute first. You have to have it all together so that you can do your color sort. You don't want to have that. Once you do your color sort, it's going to go from 6 steps. We right now have 6 designs. And it's going to bring it down to 1 design. So once you do that, there's no moving of the design. So make sure that this isn't over your hoop. Make sure that it's aligned in the way that you want it, and then do your color sort. So Utility, Color Sort, and it thinks, and it says it's reduced it by 14 color changes. Now, before I close this, I want to point out RHS Pre-Sort is not selected. Force Applique, Position, and Material are not check marked. Tolerance is at 0. Tolerance level is at 0. You need these same steps as what I have, these same settings. Otherwise, your results will be different. All right, so make sure you have these same settings. Now, once you have that all done, I highly recommend clicking New View. And what that will do is it'll open another tab and we'll go from 6 designs to 1 design, and you can check it. In case anything isn't correct, then we still have that untitled tab that we can refer back to. All right, so New View, and you see it opens up a new tab. And now everything is in 1 design, so we can check it and make sure it's accurate. So let's go ahead. So here we have the placement of the batting. So the placement stitch on both of the designs, both blocks, we have the placement stitch, and then the tack down stitch of the batting, and the placement stitch of the main fabric, and the tack down stitch of the main fabric. And then we have those piecing parts. So see, we can put them both down at the same time. We're saving so much time than doing them individually. So there's our first one, our first square part, and then our second square part, our third, oh, this is going to be that, what do you call it? Like a decorative stitch, looks like, yep, decorative outline. All right, and those are together, so that's perfect. And then our placement of our next square, well, I'm not going to try and decipher what they are. I will go over that step by step when we get to there. So 1, 9, those are both together perfectly. And 1, 10, there's our decorative outline again. And then we have that the final one. I believe that's the final one. I'm not certain, but let's just keep going. Oh, there it is. There's the second one. So they're together. That's the thing that we want to check, is make sure that they're both together. All right, and there's the, for 13, they're both together, and for 14. Now this is the trimming guideline, I believe it's called. We're not going to need that because we are quilting. So when you quilt in the hoop, it's, you can see it's right on the stitch that we already have. So we're not going to need that. So I almost positively will tell you that we're going to bypass that when we get to it, but we'll see when we get there. All right. And then our quilting design. So that worked out so perfectly. So instead of 30 color steps, we have 15. Look at that, 15 steps, and boom, 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 we're done. We're going to do this twice because we need 4 of these, and then I'll show you how to sew them all together as well, and we're all good to go. And of course my machine is not on. I am going to, since this is the first one of the series, I'm going to show you how to move it to a USB stick, because I get that question a lot. I'll pull that out of my machine. All right, so grab your USB stick. If you have a Celery or a Luminaire, you can send it to your machine. In fact, I'll show you both ways. Hold on, I got to turn that machine on. Okay, so I turned my machine on. I also put in my USB stick into my computer. I'm going to go ahead and delete this. All right. So when you put your USB stick into your computer, it should pop up like mine has here, and then you can just send it to that design file. If you can send that design file to your USB stick, I don't do it that way. I'll show you what I do. So I'm going to click on the Embellishment Essentials, and I'm going to say, so first I'm going to send it to my machine. That's quick and easy. If you have that as an option, there are other machines that do it as well. I'm not exactly sure the full list of machines that do it, but for mine's the XP1 Luminaire. I'm going to say send to Celery, and it says if you want to name the design, you certainly can, and say okay, and then file sent to machine. How easy is that? Great option. All right, the other option, I'm going to say file, save stitch file as, and I am going to go to, let's see, my Cuties. It's asking, where do you want to save this? So I'm going to go to Cuties, and I'm just going to put it in here, and I'm going to say Centers July, whatever you want to name it, and say save. You could save it in the folder that has your, I'm just saving it here. This is just a easy way. In fact, I'll do that. I'll go to my Cuties. That's the quilting. Let's see, this is the embroidery file. So I'm going to double click on that folder, double click on here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save it here in all of the other design files. That will make it easier. So I'm going to say Centers July, and I'm going to say ×2 because I have 2 of those designs, and I'm going to save it there. Now, once you've saved it, I saved it to my computer. I prefer to have all of my files on my computer. Then you can open up that folder that you had it in. So I'm going to go to Embroidery Files and Pez, and it was Centers July 2. So once you have that, once you have the file where you want it, say Control C. This is what I do so that you're moving it to that, you're moving a copy of it. So you've always got your original on your computer to save forever for next time that you use it. But then you click on the folder that has your drive. This is my USB drive here. Click on there and say Control V like victory to paste it, and it saves it in there as well. So I've got it on my computer over here. You can see that. And then over here is my USB drive, so that I can just bring that over to my embroidery machine if I chose. And very easy, copy and paste it, bring it over to that USB drive. Super easy to do from software to your USB to bring it to your machine. And we're good to go. So let's get started. So how are you doing with your goal? Don't forget, I have a goal for every project. All of our projects, I like to always set a goal. I have a good one for next month, I think, so far. Not next month, whenever we finish our current project and we start in the Nativity Bench Pillow, I'm going to have a whole new goal for that one. So anyway, my goal for this one is to build strength. That's my big thing, is to build strength. And honestly, during the last week of the month, when I work on the table cuties, the cuties table toppers, I generally don't have time to fit in a workout, in all honesty. I do still have to walk my dogs every day, and so I'm doing that. So I'm just going to count that, give myself a little grace this week, because I know I'll be working a real lot to get this out in time. So I did walk my dogs yesterday. I think it ended up about 3.5 miles, actually more than that, because I walk them generally 3 times a day, sometimes only 2, but one walk I know was 3 miles in itself, so probably 4.5 miles is what I ended up with yesterday. So it's not a huge workout, because I'm walking along with Archer sniffing every bush, 57 bushes along our walk. That is not where you're getting your heart rate running and you're doing a lot of working out. And now he's drinking water. If you can hear that, excuse the sound, but it's something, right? At least we're getting up and we're moving our bodies. That is the important thing. And keeping away from stress, that's even more important. Keep away from stress. So anyway, that's my workout for yesterday. What is your workout, or whatever your goal is? Share how you're doing. And my shirt today, I'm so excited to show you this one. It's brand new. I actually did this. I stitched this while I was prepping my fabrics for the November Cuties. So really cute design. It says, "Yes, I'm cold," and then it says "Me 24/7." How cute is that? So it's not an actual design. I just used Embellishment Essentials and imported in 2 different fonts that I used, and I sized them to how I wanted and made this shirt. And it's perfect, because it's freezing here this week. This whole week it's going to be freezing here, so it's a great sweater for this. So I want to share a link, because oh boy, this is it's a fun sweater. It's a really good design, and there's a lot of cute colors. I'm thinking about buying another one, but I'm going to give you a link right here to purchase the sweater that you can embroider on. It comes from Amazon super quick, and I love it. It's a really good quality product, and it was very easy to embroider on. So great design. And like I said, I made it myself using Embellishment Essentials. You can put whatever you want on your sweater. I thought it was fun just to put a very simple, "Yes, I'm cold," me 24/7. I thought that was really fun. I've seen it on other sweaters that you can purchase, so it was fun to make my own. I really liked that.